Hello, film friends, friends of film, and everyone in between. Welcome to the Film Folklore Podcast. I am Jed Props, and I am joined today by Chris A.D.
Hello.
And, of course, the phenomenal Justin Sound.
Hi.
Zoe and Joe are not with us today. I know Joe was spotted near Angkor Wat with diplomacy. Chris, where is Zoe?
I think Zoe's cat had hemorrhoids, and so she's occupied with that.
At the cat hemorrhoid clinic.
I think so, yeah. You have to buy special Preparation H, feline Preparation H, at the one special store.
It's Preparation C for cat.
I think so, yeah. I mean, I'm not too well versed on it, but there's one kitty cat hemorrhoid store. I think she's there.
Is
Long
there
line.
An adorable little inflatable donut for the cat to
I hope so. And then, you know, there's the debate on whether or not your cat has to get declawed to apply the Preparation H, you know, and all the stuff. There's a lot that goes into it. Yeah.
That's fair.
Why is that a debate?
Well, I mean, you know, if you declaw the kitty just for this one thing, I mean, and then it can't survive in the wild, I mean, like, really, it gets intricate.
Good point.
You know?
Right, yeah.
I'm sold. All right, friends. Well, we have a fun guest with us today, but first, I'm going to bring the subject of moving to presence. So I'm likely to be moving soon. It's always a chore. I'm sure we all agree. But I get excited for going to a new place. I mean, do y'all at least have that reward out of moving, or do you just hate the whole process?
I hate it.
Just from start to finish?
Yeah.
All right. Justin, what about you?
I used to get more excited about it. Now, I think in the last, 3 years, I've probably had 4 different residences.
Oof.
And then we've moved offices 3 times.
Oh, wait, I knew about the offices, but yeah,
So
Jesus.
Quite over it, yeah.
Probably because we can throw back to our Nick Grip episode, but I think one of the problems we're having is we're not asking our Grip brothers to help us because, I mean, you're already doing it on set. I mean, just right over here, I think is no big problem. Mm-hmm. Actually, this is a true story that we'll have to keep it anonymous, but I know of a former set decorator that was abusing in such a manner that she was buying furniture pieces for her own home and having the set dressers deliver it with the 5-ton on company dime.
Wow.
And I will only say that this person is now an Academy Award winner. Moving on. So anyway, Chris, you already said you hate the whole process. So I'm sure you'll hate these questions as well. When you're moving into a new place, and Justin, this can be office or home related, but do you kind of get excited for like the visual spatialness of it or anything where it's like, oh, I can put that over here, or I can put that on that wall, or this would be a good spot? Or because, like you said, you've done it so many times recently that you're just like, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, for me, it's efficiency thing. Like whatever gets it in the spot as fast as possible and, you know, semi-organized to where I at least know where it's at. That's yeah. My wife decorates. I don't.
That's actually the next thing I was going to say is, do y'all prefer to leave that to your partners?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does your partner ever go like, I don't know, honey, what do you think about this painting here on the wall? And you're like, yeah, sounds great.
It's established as fact that I have no idea what I'm talking about in terms of aesthetic, and I can't also
spoken like a true AD.
Yeah, I mean, I can't visualize it until it's actually up there. So it's like, just do it, and then I'm sure it'll be fine. And it is usually, you know.
Yeah. The desire to take it down and move it is a lot less than any, need for it to look, different on the wall.
Yeah.
I will say that when I do move, it does take us a long time. I have to sort of incentivize my wife or, kind of push her along with getting all the artwork hung up because I just don't like it on the floor.
Oh, yeah.
And tell me where to put it. I'll do the physical work of it. Just, you got to tell me where to put it. Because if not, it'll all be all the paintings on one wall.
There you go.
clustered together.
Yeah, just all together.
It's like a puzzle piece that you're like, oh, I found some wall space I need to cover.
Yeah.
We have the luxury and props that because of our containers and everything, I can always use those to pack and move for a lot of stuff. So at least it makes the moving experience a little bit easier. I don't have to cardboard box my entire world and stuff like that. And because I haven't moved at the frequency that you were talking about, Justin, I think that's why I'm still okay with it. If I was moving more frequently at that, I would be in the same boat as you, that I think I'd be like, I just don't care. In fact, maybe I just throw everything away.
On our last moves for our office and my house, because these were big moves for us. You know, the office was big. We had moved in 5 years, 6 years, something like that.
Yeah, y'all had that spot for a while.
Yeah, and then my house, we were, I moved back to 2 hours away from the city. So yeah, I did as much throwing away as possible.
Wow. Yeah.
And it felt really good. You feel good to kind of start fresh.
Your Marie Kondo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it works.
Shout out to Marie Kondo, who I know personally. No.
She was supposed to come and shoot a season here.
What?
Yeah, up on the North Shore. I don't think it ever happened though.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you bring something up that is a bummer about being in the art department. It's very hard to do reality TV because there generally is not an art department. So it's like a lot of times you'll go, oh, that sounds so fun. Oh, wait, no, I can't do that.
Yeah.
I would have to change departments. We did a segment for a History Channel show that came here. And when I got hired as a prop person, I was like, what? Like, this is a History Channel thing. But it made sense once we were on it because
Was it like reenactments and stuff?
well, it was like our tiny universe. So the whole thing was about set dressing and setting up, say, like a bedroom. But then the narrator saying, like, but what goes on in the what the naked eye can't see, and the camera's like zooming into the carpet, and then it's going into like this tiny world where maybe it wasn't History
Dust
Channel.
mites.
Yeah, maybe it was Learning Channel, whatever. But yeah, it was one of those things where you're going, I mean, I'm excited. I always want a job, but what is this for again?
Yeah.
But that's crazy. I didn't know that Kondo was coming this way.
Mm-hmm. I think we'll have to get with some reality folks.
I would love to get some reality TV people in here.
Mm-hmm.
I know someone, we've actually talked about it briefly, but I don't know if they would come on or not, but I do know someone who is now a like UPM producer type that has gone up in that world, that has done, I think, every show that starts with the word swamp.
Yeah.
And that's only 20. So anyway, the reason I had brought up the moving thing is because we are going to talk to a set decoration person today, because we haven't gotten anyone from Set Dec in here yet. And we have an on-set dresser with us, arguably one of the toughest film jobs, and not a position you can half-ass, not for the lighthearted. You need to steel your mind. I don't know. But anyway, let's let him talk instead of me. And without further ado, let's welcome Jonathan Set Dec. Jonathan, welcome. Hi, Jonathan. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Hey guys, what's up?
So you are an on-set dresser. And before we get into that, can you tell us a little bit about your background as far as maybe growing up, or did you grow up as a film, TV kind of kid? Were you a movie buff?
See, growing up, I mean, I always was a fan of movies, television. But as far as a film buff, I don't think I'd ever categorize myself as a film buff. There's a lot of people, especially in our industry, that know a lot more about film than
There's
as
definitely
far as like history and stuff than I do. Growing up, grew up here in and around New Orleans. And like I said, I just always loved movies, always loved TV. But it was never, I don't know, I never had an idea that I would work in TV and film. Like, I always romanticized it, thought it was awesome, thought it was really cool. But never in my life did I think that I would find myself in the industry.
I think that's how most of us are, where we kind of fall into it. There's very few, I think, that actually plan into it.
Yeah.
Unless you're a DP.
That's very true.
I'm just gonna get that out right now.
I mean, it also really was not a thing when we were kids growing up here.
Also true.
You know, it just was this, it was an idea, but I mean, it didn't exist here.
And it was also all, like so far away, right?
Yeah, I
Like,
mean,
the
that's-
idea is Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
And unless you're on one side of the country or the other, like it just didn't really. It wasn't in your
I didn't see it as a viable
right
career.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I went to University of New Orleans, but it wasn't an official film school yet. And I was just a theater kid, and they were offering film classes, and so you're going like, "Oh, that sounds fun. I'll take that." But no idea that was going to translate into something actual as work. And then when you just kind of suddenly find yourself going into it, and in that kind of late 90s, early 2000s is when bigger stuff started landing. And then you just start finding yourself, like we were talking about Mr. James Rock before, but you find yourself going like, oh, wait, I'm in. This is, okay, all right, here we go. You know, and you're just a PA, but, you know, you see real Hollywood actors, and I think maybe, were you starstruck in the beginning, or?
No, not really. I've never.
That's good.
There's been a couple of times where, you know, I've seen an actor on set and I was like, oh wow, that's really cool. Actually, as a matter of fact, no, there was one time where I was starstruck, and it was Bruce Willis.
Oh yeah,
I was like, oh wow,
that would do it.
that's Bruce. That's really cool. But it was fleeting, and I wasn't able to actually, like, you know, meet him. It was just, he walked past me, and I was like, oh man. But I too went to the University of New Orleans, and the film program, I think at that point, wasn't actually a full program like you were saying.
Yeah.
It was just some classes that you could take. As a matter of fact, I was there for something completely unrelated. It was engineering, and then Hurricane Katrina hit, and that changed my trajectory completely. And then, just in an effort to just wrap up my education, I finished with like finance, right? But then fast forward a few years, I find myself out of that corporate world and looking to find something a little more fulfilling. And I've always been someone of hobbies. Like I've loved tinkering, love creating things, love making things. And I was making like furniture and stuff like that, just very basic things. And
Wow, you really were on the path.
somebody, I know, right? And Marcus Whitman, you know Marcus.
Yeah, love Marcus Whitman.
I ran into him, and we got to talking, and he said that, you know, explained what he did, and we exchanged information. And then a few weeks later, he called me up to see if I'd be interested to day play, and I was like, yeah, sure, let's check it out. And that's kind of where it started. I got a bunch of days through him, and that was what, 13 years ago. And, you know, that's the rest is history, I guess.
Right.
So I literally kind of, like you said, kind of fell into it.
And to be clear, when you got in with Marcus, you were a set dresser, swing gang offset.
Correct. Yeah. So, and in an effort to educate, I guess, so the set decoration department breaks down as follows. The key, I guess you could say, is the set decorator who works under this production designer.
Mm-hmm.
Set decorator is the one whose responsibility is the overall look of the set, right? Approves and picks all of the decor, everything from ceiling fixtures to rugs, knickknacks.
A good sconce.
Good sconce. And like your sofa, your furniture, your artwork, anything and everything that isn't a wall and a ceiling is your set decoration. The only caveat to that is sometimes you guys get involved with props. So it's anything that a actor or actress manipulates
Yes.
Is your realm.
Yes. And the obvious crossover too. Like it can.
Sure.
A fairly common one is a picture frame that maybe an actor picks up the picture frame, and maybe it's on a mantle or something. They pick it up and then they're doing something with it. Maybe they throw it and they break it or something like that. So that's a moment where you would have that crossover where you need the art department to handle the photo itself. You need set decoration to deal with the frame. And then the glass and things like that, we would probably work with the effects department for breaking glass and throwing of frames, which means you need multiple frames as well. So what did I just name? 4 departments for one example.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of how it works.
That's pretty much how it works. A lot of collaboration is involved in what we do on a daily basis. It's really impressive, really. It really is.
Yeah. And so the decorator has kind of 2 right-hand people to them, if you want to continue.
Sure. So the decorator then relies on what we call it the lead man. The lead man is essentially like the guy in charge of all of the set dressers and swing gang. He coordinates who goes where, what goes where, when it happens, lines up everything needed to get a job done, puts together the schedule of man days, which is like manpower and what's necessary to make those things work, and works with the decorator on a budget for whether it be the show or episode or whatever. They kind of work together a little bit there on that as far as putting labor together. And then
coordinates the trucks too.
The trucks, sure. So sometimes we'll have
pickups and
anywhere from 1 to 3, 4, 5 trucks, depending on the size of the production. And those are all things that it's picking up rentals, dropping off rentals, delivering set dressing to a set here or there, and there's a lot of logistics involved in our department. For sure.
Can you imagine it? Like a place like Atlanta, I always just imagine the truck time, as sometimes people call it, where you get to take a nap or play on your phone or whatever while you're going from point A to point B to do these maybe pickup drop-offs or setups at locations. And New Orleans is easy to navigate comparatively.
Sure.
And Atlanta, I mean, you almost need like just additional trucks to get things done, from a logistics standpoint, but so much truck time, I would imagine.
Yeah, I haven't personally worked in Atlanta, but I've heard horror stories about the travel and traffic.
Traffic is insanely atrocious, but I wasn't in set deck there. I was just doing props, but the long short, when I first landed there, I had the intent of going around to the places that call themselves quote unquote prop houses to see who's legit, who could be helpful. And I mapped them all out. It still took me 2 days to go to them. Like just traffic everywhere.
Yeah. Here it's a nightmare.
But anyway, so back to the trucks, the 5-ton trucks.
So generally, traditionally what those are called. So we have the guys on the trucks that are running set dressing from here to there, whether it be pickups, returns, loading stuff in, bringing stuff back into the warehouse or our lockup. Generally, those guys are what's known as the swing gang. We're who are very, very involved in just moving stuff back and forth.
That's actually a good thing to bring up because there used to be more of a difference between a set dresser and swing gang, but they've kind of become interchangeable.
It has, just because they've tightened budgets and labor allotments. So it makes things a little more difficult because you're not allowed. So as a set dresser. Set dressers traditionally just go to the set and they dress the set with the decorator or, the buyer. So we also have buyers. I'm sure you've covered buyers on other episodes, but
not so much yet. But I mean, the buyers is basically assisting with shopping out everything because it's a monumental thing to shop everything.
Monumental task.
So I mean, they're just an assistant to the decorator, I guess, is a short, easy way. But,
precisely.
But talking about going to location sets, whatever, in advance, what we have talked about a little bit is riggers. And that can be a tricky world where you could have construction, paint, rigging, set deck, all on top of each other, rushing to get done before main unit comes in to actually shoot. So
absolutely,
that's a logistic nightmare sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes we're in there. The guys are in there dressing sets as the painters are walking out. So it's literally like the walls are still wet with paint.
The fans are going.
Yeah, fans are going. It's, fumes are everywhere. You're just trying to hustle in and get everything put up and in before company arrives, especially in TV world now, because we move so fast that we're walking in as paint's drying to shoot, which means set dressers are still scrambling around as we as we're coming in and getting things lined up. But it all comes together and it always looks great. Those guys are very talented, and I'm always really impressed with what they pull off each and every day. So
you do need that's another thing too. You sort of touched on it, but your skill set is kind of a broad skill set because you need to know a little bit of electrical. You need to be physically able. So there's that part of it because a lot of furniture lifting. And you have to have at least a cursory knowledge of how, say, curtains and blinds work and things like that.
Sure. So you become like those individuals are very adept to, like you said, like jacks of all trades or Jills of all trades. We are the last department to touch anything on the set before company comes in. So the knowledge base is very wide. So like you touched on, it's electric, construction, carpentry, even some plumbing. There's always, plumbing fixtures in a lot of our sets, especially interior homes. So there's sinks and showers and bathtubs and toilets and all that stuff. And all that needs to be at least plumbed to look like it's real, right?
Exactly. It might not be a working toilet.
It might not be working.
And you really, really need to advertise that so that someone, there's always a crew member that wants to use the bathroom on a set. Do y'all know there's I think it was a Teamster. I'm kind of trying to remember what show it was. There's a Teamster that supposedly used a stage toilet that was not plumbed.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing. I haven't personally come across anything like that, but
wow.
Yeah, I don't know like how you would even manage that.
It's a Teamster. That's part of what makes it so great.
Yeah, well, of course, right?
The one person who would be completely out of the loop from any warning, signs, like wandering their way onto set, going, looks like a perfectly serviceable toilet right here.
A radio channel that is never like associated with production at all. Yeah.
Oh man,
it would make sense.
That's too much.
Yeah.
So set dressers are very skilled at a wide range of things. It's kind of like a handyman, if you would, but with a very artistic eye, very adaptable individuals too, because we have to think differently than your traditional like construction or anything that you would do in a traditional sense doesn't necessarily apply in our world, right? Because everything is temporary. Everything needs to be able to be moved very easily, or at least manipulated very easily and quickly while company is there, right? So, So for an individual like me, the on-set dresser, having a group of guys ahead of production, like our set dressers that are knowledgeable and understand what it takes to make things, easy, is a great asset.
Oh yeah. Well, and
Because otherwise it makes my life on set very challenging.
which that's the segue I was going to make. Now that you are an on-set dresser, and we can get into it on another episode, but essentially, if we're at a set that we've never shot at before, that main unit is at for the first time, the production designer, who is at the top of our art department umbrella that props and set decoration are a part of, that person with the set decorator, with the on-set dresser, are all meeting and talking about anything that you need to know before they walk away.
Correct.
And you're like that last line of defense, essentially, for the art department.
Yes. So my role as the on-set dresser is the representative on set while filming for the set decoration department, as well as, even though it's not really technically my role, the art department as well. So there's a slight distinction there for those who aren't familiar with our industry. The art department is mostly, like your graphics and your design aspect of things.
All of your visuals that the camera captures. Maybe.
Correct. Yeah. And the set decoration is all your physical, stuff. However, since there is not an art department representative on set while we film, that responsibility often falls upon the on-set dresser, and whether that's, the right way to go about things is up for debate, but that is generally how it works. Right?
Actually, I'm glad you said that, because I had a question in there for you. In Europe and some other places, there's a position called an on-set art director.
Correct.
And we don't typically have that in the U.S.
No.
Birthplace of filmmaking, just saying. We don't evolve, apparently, like others do. So, but if you had a choice between being by yourself still, which we will get into a little bit of the difficulties of being alone as the on-set dresser typically. But if you had a choice between simply a pay raise to better justify what you have to do, because you have a very difficult job. I think it's one of the more difficult on-set jobs. It's just constantly demanding. But if you had a choice between just a pay raise or actually getting a responsibility increase in title of on-set art director and bringing that position into a reality, which would you choose?
I would advocate for the addition of the role.
Because that would technically put two people there.
It would,
Yeah.
Which would make a lot more sense, because as the on-set dresser, one of your main responsibilities is the continuity of the set and the relationship thereof with, your set dressing and art, the art department. And, you, as the on-set dresser, you field a lot of questions and requests from the art department and the production designer and the art directors. So to have that role added here locally, or at least in our North American jurisdiction, would be amazing. So to then have the on-set art director and an on-set dresser that can work together would be incredible. Now, will that ever happen? It's to be known. But it would be a great thing to advocate for. It's a great thing to ask the IA for. Let's chat with the international. Matt Loeb, you out there? Come on.
Yeah. I think he's playing golf right now. He's not listening.
He might be. But anyway.
I got to put those feelings aside because we have negotiations coming up. Next year, right around the corner.
Well, he's cutting deals on the golf course right now
Yes, of course.
on your behalf.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Jack.
Yeah, you're welcome.
But
So we want to tell you about Teaser Fest, burlesque excellence. Immerse yourself in a world of allure at Teaser Fest, a burlesque extravaganza in the heart of New Orleans from January 18th to 21st.
7 showcases, guys. Countless thrills from the timeless queen of the striptease at the Orpheum Theater with live jazz to the avant-garde Vera Tease featuring acrobatics in the same iconic venue.
Sorry, I chuckled because I think it's supposed to say varieties.
I think, yeah.
That's why I was
Yeah, so we should probably do
Wait,
that
what?
one.
Oh,
Yeah. What did I say?
what did you say? What did you
Verities.
Verities. I would have Cinema Verities.
You're,
I'm sorry, it's like the kid in class you're reading out loud.
no, but I mean, that's.
laughing at you.
No, I feel like we should shame people more. I feel like it gets people on their toes.
I see you into the
Varieties.
Derek
Varietos.
Zoolander School for
Yeah,
kids who can't read good.
variety. Yes. Yeah, varieties.
Verities. Let me do 7 showcases. Countless thrills. From the timeless queen of the striptease at the Orpheum Theater with live jazz to the avant-garde Verities featuring acrobatics in the same iconic venue.
Varieties.
Varieties.
Somebody else do it. Somebody else do it.
Hey, man, you want to take a sip of this?
7 showcases, countless thrills from the timeless queen of the striptease at the Orpheum Theater with live jazz to the avant-garde.
You're not going to be able to get through it.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm going to one more time. 7 showcases, countless.
That wasn't me.
All right,
That wasn't me.
7 showcases, countless thrills from the timeless queen of the striptease at the Orpheum Theater with live jazz to the avant-garde varieties featuring acrobatics in the same iconic venue.
It's at the Orpheum Theater, gang. Witness burlesque magnificence in this historic gem, a perfect backdrop for the extravagance of Teaser Fest.
After Dark Adventures, explore edgy, one-of-a-kind acts that redefine late-night entertainment.
Teaser Fest celebrates New Orleans culture with live music, crafted cocktails, and intimate performances.
A festival like never before. Elevate your senses at Teaser Fest, promising enchantment, amazement, and a celebration of burlesque in all its forms.
So get your tickets now. Visit teaserfest.com and secure your place at the hottest burlesque event of the year.
Yeah, it's
a good
funny.
one.
So on set, it's kind of interesting because most of my time on set is utilized. Not I don't say most of it, but as an on-set dresser, I have found like when I first started, I tried doing everything myself. Right, not asking for help, not asking for assistance, just trying to make it work because I thought that was what you had to do, right?
Wheels can get you pretty far.
And wheels are your best friend.
Yeah.
Now, and I would run myself ragged. I would create a lot of issues for myself, and it took a little while to figure out like there's a better way, right? And I always had people offering help. But there's union lines, and it's like, oh no, it's not. It's not your job. Like, I'll figure it out. I'll take care of it.
And that's a really good point because that's as far as union lines go. It's nearly impossible to not cross a union line when you're an on-set dresser. When someone's offering to help, it's like
right. But
kind of an inherent contradiction.
As the years progressed, I learned that my most valuable asset is making friends, right? And being the guy that like
strapping grips over there.
Yeah, like I now know most everyone on the set, right? Like I'm friends with every department. The keys are key grip and the gaffer and the DP and director. All those guys I know really well by the end of like week 2, right? Because I need as much information and as much help as I can realistically ask for, right?
We should talk a little bit about what the help is, because
sure. So it's a lot
our
of
favorite
things.
person to make fun of is someone you have to be good friends with.
Oh, yes,
cinematographer.
The cinematographer. Sure. So starting with the cinematographer, let's start there. Making friends with that guy or gal is pretty important because you'll get invaluable information as far as where cameras are going to be and where to anticipate cameras' location for like the subsequent setups. I try to get that information as soon as I can so that I can better prepare for, let's say, the next 4 or 5 setups, especially in television. And usually your DP knows what those are going to be in television.
Usually, asterisk.
Yeah, usually. In television, they typically know. When we're on a feature, it's a little more fluid, a little different because those things change because we do have longer setup times and all that. So it's not as much of a concern. But knowing those things in advance for my position is very valuable because I can anticipate where camera is going to be, what set dressing needs to be moved, what we're going to be looking at, if things need to be adjusted or brought into a frame later on, or even if we're not looking in this direction right now, but we need to establish something there at some point, having that there and available is good, because if not, you get caught with your pants down, and that's never a good look. But so yes, making friends and being on a familiar basis with the DP is important, as well as your director. Your director wants your director to trust you and trust your judgment and trust that you are on the ball and like cognizant of what's happening and have his kind of vision in line as well.
That's so we haven't really talked about that much, but that's a good point you bring up. Is confidence goes a very long way in our world. That whether it's fake confidence, false confidence, or something like that, it still sells people. It eases them when you haven't worked together before, and so that is a position where you need to instill that confidence in, say, a DP or a director or some of those people, so that they can focus on other things and trust that you're going to be doing your thing.
Right. Because if they're worried about, where something's going to be or whether or not you're prepared or ready. And
is that so phone and smart?
Well, not so much the so far on the mark, but just like knowing that like you are, how do you say it? Like have their vision in mind as far as what they're hoping to accomplish is kind of, it goes a long way.
So a couple of things before getting out of here. One of the things I wanted to ask you is if you had a preference or a choice, because sometimes we're in precarious locations that we're shooting and everything. What kind of location is your worst enemy typically versus your best friend kind of location?
Ooh, good question. I guess the ones that are the toughest, like most challenging, are interior homes. So
like
a location,
a practical home,
a
like
practical
an actual
home. Because once we're inside, everybody wants to be inside. So everybody wants to get their gear as close as possible. Everybody wants to have their stuff as close as possible. But also I have to be able to have room and spaces to go with the set dressing that's in the house for when camera moves around the house. So if camera is in one position, imagine everything on that side of the room has to be cleared out because you need space for dollies, cameras, 1 or 2 cameras. So all that space has to be cleared for that to happen. I need somewhere to go with that.
And it can't be in the only room where Video Village is.
Right. So, it can be challenging at times in those locations, in those sets. I mean, my favorite sets are like parks.
Yeah.
You know, like it's,
I would think
there's a park bench and
a driving shot.
or a driving shot, right? Yeah.
But I mean, it is one of the things that I cannot understand about filmmaking. I mean, it's really, it's like top 3. It's like you're in a home. It's filled with furniture. There's no place to go. And there's one set dresser. There's one guy. And it's just sort of like, you know, you'll see the production designer, and he'll be like, okay, cool. All right, I'm about to take off, but we're shooting in this church today. And here's all these vestibules. Each one of them weighs 1,000 pounds. There's 12 of them. But we put little padded feet underneath them, so you should be fine. You know? And then it's like, all right, good luck.
Yeah. Here's 4 sliders.
And it doesn't make any sense how you expect one person to be able to move all these really, really heavy things. And it's crazy. And like, I feel like it really should be a rule that, like, you know, if you're shooting interior, period, you know, you should have 2 on set dressers, just because, I mean, how is one person going to move all this stuff? Realistically, it's not possible.
In all of my career, I've worked 2 productions where there's been 2 on-set dressers for the entire run of the show.
Yeah. And I mean, like, I've seen it, I've only seen it happen, I think, twice. And there's only one time that I know for sure that it did happen. And it was just sort of, it was a preemptive thing. Like, you know, the on-set dresser thought about it about a week before and had been pushing for it and finally got approval for it. Just because, you know, it was interior and it was so tight, it was so cramped, and everything was just heavy. And but it was just, you know, it was just on that day. Somebody from the swing gang came over.
Yeah. Sometimes I will get an additional, depending on the you know, the location and the workload.
Yeah.
Like we recently did a film that involved a football game, and football, like it doesn't seem like it would be difficult, right, from a set dressing standpoint, which it isn't generally, but it's the scale of a football field that makes things difficult.
Yeah.
So there's not a whole lot of set dressing, but the amount of like square footage that you have to cover is a lot. So in times like that, I was able to have an additional. And sometimes if we're on a set where there's very heavy items or like there's like a lot of stuff, I'll sometimes have an additional and have that approved. So it does happen. It's not often, but it does happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then again, you kind of had to teach yourself to ask for that. And
Oh, of course. Yeah. Because they're not going to offer it up, you know? And then it's generally an ask to the production designer or the decorator.
Yeah.
And then they'll advocate on your behalf.
Or they won't.
Or they won't. Yeah.
Or they won't.
Which is a real bummer.
Yeah.
Which is tough too.
That's a whole other conversation
Yeah.
about art department advocacy, because the long short is that there's a reason that costumes get 17 people in their department. There's a reason that G&E and camera are all well taken care of. There's a reason that the first ADs can get their additionals. And there's a reason that the art department is always cut short. And unfortunately, that oftentimes has to do with the production designer, unfortunately.
I too think, like, not to like,
and there are some great,
not to rag on the
noble
production designer, but I can kind of understand the production designer's point of view too, is because the bulk of the budget goes to the art department, right? So
construction, paint, which we haven't really talked about, but
right,
the greens department, construction, paint, set decoration, props, the art, graphics, and effects, I guess, would kind of sort of be. They're like a construction art hybridish kind of thing.
Could.
is production designer above the line?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have agents, which is kind of funny to think about, but they're what's sometimes known as a loan out. That's not worth going into. But
yeah, so like, given that, they do try to like save money where they can. So like for them to like not offer up additional labor when they don't feel like they have to or it's not necessary. You know, I understand
Yes.
the thought.
Yes.
Whether that's the reality of situations is a different conversation. But yeah, it's funny because I'm often asked to be a steward as well through our
union,
our local.
It's like the rep on the show on behalf of the union.
Correct. Yeah. So you're exactly like the union rep while on set, and that is also because the on-set dresser knows everyone.
Yes.
Right. So everybody
And
knows
you're
the on-set
always
dresser.
present.
And you're always present. You're always right there.
Always on set
Always
all the time.
on set all the time.
Like literally, we can be on a show together and you're turning to props and saying, can you cover me a second so I can go to the bathroom?
Yeah.
I mean, like it's that kind of
Yeah.
thing because you need to have that break in that moment. And when we're shooting, you are theoretically taking photos, continuity, things like that.
Yes.
When we're not shooting, you're moving furniture and items around per the DP and director, and you're taking continuity photos again. So you really start getting into it. Well, when are you not doing something? That's kind of going back to the whole demanding part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I always feel bad in that sense of like, it can be so demanding. I mean, I don't think there's a show that we've ever done where we move on from a scene, cameras on the move. You'll hear, Chris or an AD say it, and maybe the on-set dresser is on their way back from a bathroom break or grabbing a coffee or a snack or something. And so you start hearing this, maybe it's on the radio and it's like, Jonathan set deck, Jonathan, does anyone see Jonathan? It's like, he's on his way, or you are coming on the radio going like, I'm on my way, like 2 seconds away,
Yeah.
So it just always seems so hectic. And there's not a lot of forgiving.
Yeah, most of my like snacking and like pass around meals that craft service provides are done over a garbage can right outside set because I never know if I just need to like throw it down and go right back in.
There's many a meal I've shared with the on-set dresser over a trash can as a second. And that's it.
You guys are very valuable to me as well. Y'all hold a wealth of knowledge as far as our day is concerned.
We should, in theory.
Yeah. But yeah.
And that kind of getting into a wrap up here.
Sure.
So want to give you a moment that we have a soapbox you can stand on if you'd like. Or if it's advice related, maybe you just want to, if any crew is listening and talk to them about water bottles on a set, it could be that. It could be, advice you want to impart, good or bad. It's kind of a moment for you to free will say whatever you want.
Oh man.
I know, right? You can say more than one thing. You're
put
not
me on the
limited.
spot there, huh?
I should probably start telling guests a heads up about that.
Advice. This was like a position that I came into and found like kind of my niche in this industry that we have.
I love that you were building furniture before you were even in the industry.
Right. Yeah. I would say if it's something that if you find set decoration, something that you want to do, I would say familiarize yourself with, how that looks on film, right? Study some of your favorite films and look at it from that design and decoration standpoint. Because it's not about just moving furniture. It's not about, just taking continuity photos. Really, my favorite part of being an on-set dresser is creating a beautiful shot, right? Once I see that frame, I can then tweak what's inside that box to give, a beautiful shot for the camera, for the production designer, for the decorator, for the director. And so I guess just kind of, if that's your world, if that's what you want to do, and that art department type world is where you want to go, yeah, just study your favorite films, and find what makes it exciting for you, what makes that a beautiful shot to you, and kind of go from there. As far as crew, I love our crew. Water bottles don't bother me that much. Every now and then, I'll get frustrated just because like I've had a hard day and whatnot, and like there's coffee cups and water bottles around. But also, it's hard on everybody, and everybody's moving fast. Everybody's moving quick. They always try and shorten our days and squeeze as much pages into our schedule as possible. And so I get it, like you can't always just get up and go throw something away. It's just when it becomes a bit egregious is when it's,
Game of Thrones final season
frustrating.
egregious.
Hey, that was an actor, that wasn't crew. So
Which time? Which time? Are we talking about the water bottle or the coffee, the Starbucks coffee?
the Starbucks coffee.
Because there's a water bottle
Yeah.
at the feet of, I don't know, I forgot everybody's name.
They had Starbucks and water bottles
Yeah.
back in that
Well,
difficult day.
again,
They did.
again, if it's at the actor's feet, that's the actor.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
very true.
Not crew.
Yeah.
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 Um,
I never put my water bottles at the foot of a actor. Don't do that.
I guess my biggest pet peeve for crew on a set is just disregard sometimes of, or maybe just not being aware of that this is a set and this is, all this stuff is mine to look after, and is some of it we only have one of, so don't sit on the tables, don't stand on the
Oh, yeah, that's
chairs.
another one. Yeah.
Don't use a dining table as grip storage. Like it's just be conscientious.
Yes.
I'm not going to go and put my tools on your cart or start spray painting something on on the back of your truck. Just don't
We all have to
a
play in
little
the same
conscientious.
sandbox.
exactly.
Yeah. I think that's,
Sometimes cats shit in it, but we don't have control of that.
I think that's a good note to close on there.
Wait, I've got one question.
Go ahead.
Because I've always wanted to know, and I've never known.
Mm-hmm.
Who picks the paint color on the walls? Is it the
designer.
The designer does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Thank God. Okay, we can move on.
It's also it's the designer's choice if they want to use a wallpaper or something like that. And for anyone that's actually applied wallpaper before, you kind of hate them when they make those choices because wallpaper can be a nightmare. But that's a whole other conversation for the scenic department.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Jonathan, for stopping by.
Thanks for having me.
We really appreciate it. And thank you for being our first set decoration rep here. Jonathan on Set Dresser, everybody. Thank you.
All right, guys. Thanks.
Oh, man. Thanks, Jonathan. That was awesome. I'm always impressed with good on-set dressers. Noble profession. Some jobs aren't for everyone. I hated that job. Additional on-set, not a problem because you're just helping move heavy stuff and there's not a lot of thinking in it. But the on-set dresser, as he said, is much more complicated. Chris, because I don't think we didn't go into it too much. Can you speak a little bit to the on-set dresser from an AD vantage point? Shots are moving. You're on set, kind of helping coordinate the movements. Can you speak to that a little bit?
I just my heart goes out to every on-set dresser. I think it is one of the hardest jobs on a film set. You have to be there all the time. You literally have to have a strong backbone.
Not an old man's job.
Man,
you need to be youthful and sturdy.
Yeah, you really do. There is no way that I could do that job with the lower back trouble that I have. It's a serious job. It is very tough, and it really, you're responsible for a lot of things that go on camera in every single shot. So those guys are awesome. And I think that they deserve more credit than they get. And I also feel like there should be more additional on-set dressers when, we've got to do interiors of an entire house. It's impossible to do alone. It really is. So I love those guys. They're awesome.
Yeah. It's also that thing of, and for anyone in a hiring position, something to think about. Every time a grip, a prop person, an available AD, someone else jumps in and helps, you're also taking that person away from what they should be doing. Just throwing that out there. And, whatever. I mean, at the end of the day, for the millions of dollars we spend, it's not costing you to staff appropriately.
Yeah.
Oh, soapbox. Look what I found. Anyways, all right. Well, let's get out of here. Again, thanks to Jonathan for coming by today. This is going to be a little reveal from behind the scenes because Zoe wasn't with us. But hey, Zoe, do your thing.
Do you like what we're doing here? Do you have thoughts, comments, questions? Maybe you have an idea or suggestion for topics you want to hear about? Well, you can find us on the intrawebs. You can email us at filmfolklorepodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on the social medias, Instagram being Film Folklore Podcast. We have a Facebook group called Film Folklore, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at The Film Folk. And yeah, thanks for joining us today.
Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.